Is any dog beyond saving? Like, is there some that just have to be put down?
Yeah. I mean, there's some that get there eventually, and there's so many different reasons that we could go into, but for the most part, most of them aren't there.
Yeah.
You know, one big issue that can happen within dog training, and it can happen on I know you don't know specifically too many deep things, but there's kind of like wars going on within the dog training community, and there's like force-free people that don't want to use tools in specific ways and just want to use like food and positive reinforcement, and then there's kind of the balance trainers that are willing to use tools and kind of...
When you say tools, do you mean like those collars that have like the little spikes on them?
Prong collars, e-collars,
okay.
different things. And so there's kind of, sides that people get on, and they go back and forth, right? How we do things within TWC is kind of different. Like, we would be considered balanced trainers because we do use tools, but how we use tools and how we do kind of the entire foundational learning of the dog is completely different. And so, within that, there can be problems where if somebody is just doing like force-free stuff and, maybe they've been training dogs for 5 years and they, know how to do obedience and know how to train the dog to do specific things. And then they get an aggression case where you're not going to fix it with giving the dog a cookie. You know what I mean? There's things that have to happen. There's boundaries that have to be set, and there's very specific ways that you have to go through it depending on what the dog is, what they're showing, what they're doing. And if you don't know those things, it can seem like the dog is just unsavable, too aggressive, right? There's dogs that have killed dogs that can be trained, that can be okay, right, in certain situations and actually be livable and safe and do all these things, right? But again, you have to look at the dog. You have to make sure that health issues are taken care of. The dog's not in pain. There's so many weird things that can happen.
Right.
There are rare cases where there's like neurological things where something's just like off in the brain of the dog.
Right.
But again, this stuff is like pretty rare.
Yeah.
And it can be talked about as like a pretty like hot topic, and some things will get, pushed into those categories that aren't really that, but they'll get blamed on that because it's a better story than like, well, the dog was just untrained and didn't have a purpose and started going crazy. And when he lashed out, he learned that he could make people, go away or do whatever he could get what he want. And then the dog just kept escalating because it was within him to have that confidence of like, no, I'm going to run the house now.
Right.
Yeah. And it can be scary. You know what I mean? And people don't know what to do. They have this animal. They're not trainers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be interesting for sure.
Hey, this quick interruption is brought to you by me, Scott Groves, the host of the On the Edge podcast. This podcast is brought to you by me. I'm a loan officer who can help you with a mortgage in all 50 states across the United States. I also coach loan officers. So if you are a home buyer who's looking to get a mortgage, if you're a realtor who's looking to partner with an awesome loan officer, or if you're a loan officer looking for coaching, get in touch with me. It's those sources of revenue that allow us to produce this podcast and get out a new episode to you every week for the last couple of years. So if you're looking for a mortgage, if you're looking for a mortgage lender to partner with, or you're looking for a mortgage coach, I'm your guy. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.